But this way we were prepared for what was waiting for us. We didn't break, we adapted. The fact that we were only 20 helped us to do that, even though it made other things so difficult. But most important of all, we developed a firm, practical feeling of solidarity, which grew on the battlefield into the best thing that the war produced: comradeship in arms. I'm sitting by Kemmerich's bed. He's failing more and more visibly. There's a lot of toing and froing around us. A hospital train has come in and they're sorting out any of the wounded that can be moved. A doctor goes past Kemmerich's bed and doesn't even look at him. Next time round, Franz, I tell him. He lifts himself on one elbow, propped up against the pillow. They've amputated my leg. So now he has realized after all. I nod, and by way of a response, I say, "You want to be glad that you got away with that." He doesn't say anything. I carry on talking. "It could have been both your legs, Franz. Wegler lost his right arm. That's a lot worse, and it means you'll go home." He looks at me. "Do you think so?" "Of course I do." He says it again. "Do you think so?" "Of course you will, Franz. You just have to recover from the operation." He signals to me to come a bit closer. I lean over him and he whispers, "I don't reckon I will." "Don't talk such rubbish, Franz. You'll see yourself that I'm right in a couple of days. It's not such a big thing, having a leg amputated. They patch up a lot of worse things here." He lifts his hand. "Just have a look at my fingers." "That's all because of the operation. Just get a decent amount of grub into you and you'll pick up again. Are they feeding you properly?" He points to a dish, but it is still half full. I begin to get worked up. "Franz, you've got to eat. Eating is the main thing, and the food's pretty good here." He shakes his head. After a while, he says slowly, "I used to want to be a forester." I try to reassure him. "You still can be. They can make amazing artificial limbs these days. You'll hardly notice that they aren't real. They fix them onto the muscles. You can move the fingers on artificial hands and you can use them. You can even write. And besides, they're making improvements all the time." He lies there for a while without a word. Then he says, "You can take my flying boots for Muller." I nod and try to think of something to say that will cheer him up. His lips are pallid, his mouth has got bigger, and his teeth look very prominent, as if they were made of chalk. His flesh is melting away. His forehead is higher, his cheekbones more pronounced. The skeleton is working its way to the surface. His eyes are sinking already. In a few hours, it will all be over. He isn't the first one I've seen like this, but we grew up together, and that always makes it different. I've copied school exercises from him. In school, he usually wore a brown jacket with a belt, with parts of the sleeves worn smooth, and he was the only one of us that could do the full-arm turn on the high bar. His hair flew into his face like silk when he did it. Kantorek was proud of him for being able to do it, but he couldn't stand cigarettes. His skin was very white, and there was something feminine about him. I glanced down at my own boots. They are big and heavy, and my trousers are tucked into them. Standing up, you look solid and strong in these wide-legged things. But when we undress for swimming, we suddenly have thin legs and narrow shoulders. We aren't soldiers anymore then. We are almost schoolboys again. Nobody would believe that we could carry a full pack. It is really strange when we are naked. We are civilians again, and we almost feel like civilians. Whenever we went swimming, Franz Kemmerich used to look as small and slim as a child. Now he's lying there. And for what reason? Everybody in the whole world ought to be made to walk past his bed and be told, "This is Franz Kemmerich. He's 19 and a half, and he doesn't want to die. Don't let him die." My thoughts run wild. The smell of carbolic and gangrene clogs the lungs like thick, suffocating porridge. It gets dark. Kemmerich's face gets paler. It stands out against his pillow and is so white that it looks luminous. He makes a small movement with his mouth. I get closer to him. He whispers, "If you find my watch, send it home." I don't argue. There's no point anymore. He is beyond convincing. I'm sick with helplessness. That forehead sunk in at the temples, that mouth, which is all teeth now, that thin, sharp nose, and the fat, tearful woman at home that I shall have to write to. I wish I had that job behind me already. Hospital orderlies move about with bottles and buckets. One comes up to us, glances at Kemmerich speculatively, and goes away again. He is obviously waiting. Probably he needs the bed. I get close to Franz and start to talk as if that could save him. "Maybe you'll finish up in that convalescent home in Klosterburg, Franz, up where the big houses are. Then you'll be able to look out over the fields from your window, right across to the 2 trees on the horizon. It's the best time now when the corn is ripening and the fields look like mother of pearl when the evening sun is on them. And the row of poplars by the stream where we used to catch sticklebacks.